Okay, I'm gonna get demonetized. I'm not even monetized. This video's gonna get me demonetized. Alright gamers, what's up? My name is Crypt. I'm a cosplayer. However, when it comes to the cosplay side of makeup things, I can do all the basics. I can do the fun little pretty things. But my specialty is blood, guts, and gore, which, even though I'm a horror creator, funnily enough, I actually don't do a whole lot of anymore. And I used to before I became a cosplayer, which is very funny in retrospect. Growing up, I watched I learned everything I know from YouTube. But then like the last few years, there's not a lot of SFX makeup, or special effects makeup on the internet anymore. And that's partly because every time someone tries to make a video of it, YouTube does love to take it down because it's not ad friendly. But also, I think the biggest leading name in special effects makeup on YouTube also stopped making videos because they are not a great person, allegedly. Allegedly. Love that word. I digress, but everyone has to learn somewhere, and I'm here to teach you what I know. Disclaimer, I'm not a professional though. I never went to school. I actually don't really know what I'm talking about. But I have been doing this for a very long time, and it looks kind of decently sort of okay every time I do it. So, we're gonna go over like the basic products that I use, which actually isn't a lot. Let's get into it, I guess. Random disclaimer. Middle of the video filming here, hi. None of these products I'm about to mention am I sponsored by. This is not an ad, I'm not paid, I wasn't sent any of these things for free. I would love to be sponsored by them, but I'm not, so please keep that in mind. This is a very basics tutorial, and I will definitely make more in-depth tutorials later, but this is more of like a showcase of what these different products do, so you can kind of go around and play on your own. To make any sort of basic cut, as most people when they start off with SFX makeup will start off with cuts and bloody, minorly bloody stuff, or they'll jump right in, and I respect that, I did that. What you'll need to start off with that is either silicone, which I don't own because it's stupid expensive, latex, or scar wax. One of these I hate, and it's our lovely scar wax here. I hate this thing. This is the only thing I've ever bought of scar wax. It's very tiny. I've had this thing for years because I never touch it, because I hate it. However, my main medium is liquid latex. This is from Spirit Halloween because I ran out of my professional grade stuff during Halloween, and I work at Spencer's now, so of course I use my employee discount to buy more. Both of these are great starter options. Liquid latex is 100% harder to work with if you want more of a realistic looking cut. This stuff, if you move too much or you get too hot, it will fall off. Silicone honestly is the best option, but I am dying. Jesus, okay, now that I'm alive. Silicone is the best option, however, it's stupid expensive, and I sadly do not have a YouTube creator fund to dip into, so sorry. Silicone will always look better. It is not beginner friendly. It's you mix part A, part B, like normal silicone, except it's skin safe. Do not use molding grade silicone or anything like that on your skin for SFX. There is specifically made SFX silicone that is made to go on your skin for this kind of thing. If you're going to go that route, please buy that and not the purple blue silicone stuff. That is for mold, it is not for your skin. Cool, great, all right. I'm gonna talk about latex first because it's what I know and it's what I'm more comfortable with, and we'll get into this later because I'm avoiding it. To use latex in any form, you're either going to want to get some tissue paper or some cotton. I always tend to stick with cotton balls. Take them, right, and you're like, okay, stick a thing of cotton in your face, it's not going to do a whole lot. Trick, grab it from the middle here. You can always kind of feel the way cotton is wrapped around. Grab it from the middle, pull, and then you can kind of pull at it, and it literally will unravel itself. And if you are like me and you do hate the sound of cotton, I'm very sorry. Blast music. I'm suffering right now. Yeah, you can get these really nice long strips, obviously. Everything pulls apart. You usually don't use strips these long when you're doing anything. I'm sorry if you can see the little particles floating around. You usually don't use strips these long, but it's kind of nice to have these long strips because you can stick them on and then pull them to size. So you don't undershot or overshot something. Because you can't overshot something, you just pull it away. It's very nice to work with. We'll get into actually how to use it in a second. Scar wax is the bane of my existence. Scar wax looks like this. It is literally a wax. I personally hate working with it. I hate the texture of it, and it never really gets off your skin once you touch it. However, it is a really easy beginner-friendly thing. I am trying to avoid touching it as much as I possibly can, so where's my little tool? Tell me I grabbed it. Tell me I grabbed it. I did grab it. It's in front of my face, and I'm just dumb and blind. I have a lot of like the professional grade tools and stuff. You don't have to have that. You can do this all with your fingers. I'm just very autistic, and the texture of things will drive me insane. But Scar wax, literally just take a little bit of it. If you need bigger pieces, obviously take bigger pieces. I will say Scar wax definitely does work better in smaller chunks, and especially in places that don't move around a bunch. I typically only need a piece about that big for scars and cuts and stuff, but obviously plan it accordingly to how you're doing, how big of a cut you're gonna do. Little stuff like that, and then you literally can just like stick it on your skin and then mold it to shape. We will get into that in a second once I go over the rest of the product. Oh my gosh, get off my skin. As much as it loves to stick to your hands, it's because your hands are usually warm and a little sweaty probably from working. Your skin, like your face though, is a lot colder, and you can just kind of stick it off. Again, I hate working with it because of the waxy feel it leaves on my hands, but it is a really great beginner product, and it usually is really affordable. I think this bin, which again has lasted me like 6 years. I don't use it very often, but it's also fairly reusable. If you're working on yourself, if you are working on like clients and other people, please don't reuse any of this. Once you have used it, throw it in the trash. Sanitation is incredibly important. But if it's working on yourself and you don't really care, I've reused it. I'm not going to tell you to reuse it, but I've reused it. There is still scar wax on my face. I hate it. It never goes away. But when you are removing prosthetics and stuff like that, which will be a whole other video if you guys would like to see that, isopropyl alcohol is your best friend. This stuff is an oil, I believe. It feels like an oil. I'm actually not sure if it is an oil. But this is it's a thickening agent. What you do with this, pop it open. Pour a little bit on the brush you're using, not your hands, a brush. So when you do SFX makeup, I highly recommend getting paint brushes or a really cheap brush set that you really don't care about ruining, because you're going to ruin your brushes. Dip it in, or like pour this into a cup and dip your brush in, and then very slowly like maneuver it underneath the prosthetic or silicone or latex you're wearing. It'll help it come off easier so you don't accidentally rip off layers of skin or like baby hair and stuff like that. It makes it a whole lot easier. Doesn't necessarily always make it painless, but it makes it less painful. So no idea when this fan is going to turn off, so we're just going to keep going, and I'm going to really pray to God it's not super bad. And if it is, I'm sorry, I live in an old house. Alright, moving on now. Blood. My favorite part of everything. Now I will apologize, I do not have one of the bloods I use with me right now. I don't know where it went. I have a talent for losing things, so my drippy blood is gone. I'm sorry. This is Scraftobian's Magic Powder blood, so what you do with it, take a little bit of it. Oh, the fan turned off. Thank you, fan. Take a little bit of it. Gone. Spray with water. Blood. It is water activated. You can hide it. Sometimes it is harder to hide it. What I've done in the past when I can't hide it and I need a lot, for like a video or something where a blood splatter effect I wanted to have happen, instead of putting character blush on, I used that as the blush. And then when you spray it, blood. You lose the blush, but I don't think anyone's looking at the blush after there's blood on your face. So, this does stain very badly, I will warn you. And I have a Christmas party to go to with my coworkers tomorrow, so if I roll my sleeves up, sorry. So this is scab blood. I don't have a lid for it because I hate it, and I lost the lid years ago because I don't like it. That's not why I lost the lid, but I just didn't care enough to preserve it. So it's a little harder than it should be. However, it almost came in this consistency. People do swear by it, and I might have just gotten like a bad batch of it or whatever, but like, it pulls like taffy. which could be great if you need a really textured blood effect. It's not for me though. It leaves a very like sticky looking residue on your hands, and I don't really like that. It does look very cool when it is coagulated, and I think if you liked that look, you would probably enjoy this a lot more than I do. I'm not a big fan of that because I'm able to recreate that with latex and paints. So I'm not a huge fan of scab blood, and again, maybe it was just the batch I got when I originally bought this 6 years ago, and I'm sure this was from Ben Nye, and Ben Nye is an amazing brand, so I might buy some more soon and test it out and see and make a little follow-up and see if I like this, but as of right now, and I've never been wild about it, I don't use it very much. The only reason it looks like there's so much that's been scraped out is because, like, I've been trying to kind of revitalize it over the years and try to love it, so I like use it and then I'm like, oh gosh, it feels like jam, and I'm not a fan of that. I probably should have grabbed makeup wipes. One moment. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. I found it. Okay, rewind, backtrack. I found my mouse safe blood. So this stuff is quite thick. It likes to dry. It's very sticky. However, it is my holy grail. Oh. Yep. So this is the mouse safe blood. It's a lot runnier when you have it in big amounts. But it'll smear. It's usually what I do with it, is I'll smear it places. And this is why I don't use scab blood, because it will coagulate and dry down once it's like a thin enough thing, and when you spread it out, it still has that dark red blood feel to it, which is what I love. Like, if I do not have access to my water activated stuff, I use this. Or if I need something a little thicker or something that I only need there for like a few seconds, I will use this blood. Stuff that I'm wearing all day, that's when I use my water blood, because it dries down and it doesn't move. This stuff, because it is sticky, and I'm pretty sure it's oil-based, I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's oil-based, and therefore it will move if touched. The top of it will dry down and it'll get hard, but if you like really press into it, which sometimes it cons and stuff, you never know. So the only product that I genuinely do not have here, and I think it's at M's house, and that's the reason why, is glycerin. So glycerin is an oil-based liquid. It kind of acts similar to this in the feel of it. However, it does not take off prosthetics. It is for fake sweat and fake tears and stuff like that. If you want to look gross and you want to look sweaty and you want to look grimy, glycerin is the way to go. But it does not dry down. It does kind of like beat up sometimes, but one quick swipe will literally like put it back to where it was originally. Color. I don't know where my grease paint went, but this is probably what you'll be working with when you first start off. This is cream paint. Grease paint works a little similarly, but not the exact same. It'll look like this. It'll probably come in a wheel like this. I haven't used this since I did theater. Like a cream. It's always really pigmented. This is not my Bruise palette. This is just a basic primary colors palette. You know, and it's got the other colors in it. Now you could use these colors to make a Bruise. I'm not saying that you couldn't. You will just have to get a little creative with how you mix colors. With cream paint though, a little goes a really long way. So as you saw, like those swatches, they were still very pigmented. So if I wanted just a little bit of red, that's a lot on my finger. Take it. It's very hard to see, but you can definitely see it. Now if you're doing theater makeup, this is going to apply a little differently, but I'm a cosplayer, so I'm applying this to up-close photo shots. Cream paint is very, very forgiving. It will kind of dry down. It doesn't, in my experience, it doesn't ever really dry down. It'll dry down more than grease paint will, because grease paint is grease-based, obviously. Grease doesn't really dry. Cream paint will dry, but it's another one of those things, kind of like the thicker blood. If you like put pressure on it or anything, or you actually like go to wipe, it will smear. So keep that in mind. Definitely the most beginner friendly when you're just understanding how colors and bruises work together. Not the most beginner friendly if you're gonna wear it for a long period of time. This also will run with sweat. So if you're under lights and stuff, studio lights, I would not wear this. Cream paints in general though, can be great for body paint, but you have to set it. And now, my favorite kind of coloring. And the most expensive kind. This is an alcohol activator palette. Kind of looks like this. This one's been used a lot. Again, I've had this guy for about 6 years. Your colors, obviously, when you first get this, will look a lot nicer and a lot less used and war-torn. However, it will still work the same. This is a Skin Illustrator palette. I know that they do make other cheaper alcohol activated palettes. This is my personal favorite. I think they're great, and they are approved by a bunch of different people, and they're vegan and cruelty-free. They are expensive, so. I think this palette on Amazon is about $86, and I know you can get them for cheaper, but I would prefer to spend more money and be able to last me. This is gonna last me another 4 or 5 years. So, what you do is you pour 99% alcohol. Make sure it's 99, not 91 or 92. 99% alcohol. They do sell an activator that they personally recommend using. I don't really understand or know the difference between the two, but they do sell one that they do recommend using. Then what you do, take a brush, dip it in the alcohol, and then dip it into whatever you're gonna use as your base. So we'll do just an aged blood tone. Now with most alcohol paints, they're going to run very thin when you put them on. So we're gonna do here. The benefit of these is how light they are. They are very buildable. You can't see that on camera, I can see it in person. So we're just going to. And I used a little bit more alcohol than you probably should, and that is a personal preference. I really like to have mine be thin because it is always easier to add color than take color away. But you see how you're already kind of forming? With these, my favorite thing is to dab it on and then tap it. It creates a much more broken skin effect, and it's much nicer. The only thing, the downside of alcohol activated paints, is that because you have to apply so much for them to look good on cameras like this, it is a little harder to show you how great they actually look. But I've probably spent a minute and a half building this color up, and you've got a decently good bruise now. So you can see the skin here does look broken, and it looks bruised, and it looks a little aged. That is the kind of effect that an alcohol activated palette will give you, and it is why they are so expensive. They are studio film grade makeup. The hard thing with this is that what looks good in real life might not look good on camera. This looks amazing in real life. On camera, not so much. So you do have to kind of learn how to make it look good on camera versus in person. All right, well, now that we've talked about what products I use, let's show you how silicone and scar wax perform. Hello? What is happening there? I love when my glasses make it look like I am dying. While pushing down I'm doing that. Okay, I got into it. I will warn you, no matter how nice of a quality your latex is, it's always going to smell horrible and evil and bad. This is just the nature of latex. But when you pour your latex, it will run very runny like that. Because it is a liquid, it does give you a lot of time to work with it, which is always very nice. Latex usually will dry clear, and then when it's mixed with the cotton, it'll dry to a yellow. So we're just gonna put a very light little bat of latex down. Now latex, when it's like this, it will dry very fast when it's just a thin little coat. So you wanna get your cotton down fairly quick. Now I have seen where people literally will sculpt the cut with their cotton when it's in this stage. I don't personally like to do that. I would rather cut into it. But you're just gonna coat the entire thing. And as you do this, try and smooth out the edges as best you can. Now I would personally recommend not doing this as close to your eye as I'm doing the first time you're doing this. And if I get it into my eye, that's on me. I've got a glob down, and now I personally do it like this. Don't do it like this. This whole thing is do what I say, not as I do. You're gonna want to build your scars and stuff up by laying them down, replacing cotton around it. So like, we'll take this thinner piece of cotton and we'll line where the opening of the cut's gonna be. And then drench that in more latex. Latex will always look the best when accompanied by other wounds and stuff, and also when you are able to spend more time with it. While we wait for this to dry, I'm going to move on to scar wax, which I'm going to do on my forehead because there's less movement there. With your scar wax, take little chunks, scoop it out. I'm going to use the chunk that I actually picked up earlier. Warm it up in your hands a little bit. This is going to turn pink because my hands are stained. Warm it up, it should be nice and movable and flexible. It's not a super flexible material, but it should feel like a dough, like a clay, like a very sticky, evil clay. And then make like a little just guy with it. And go ahead and just plop it on your skin. Now this needs a non-makeuped area. I'm gonna move this guy a little up so it doesn't go into my eyebrow. This needs a non-makeup area for this to stick. You can put this over makeup. Just blend out the sides. Now, scar wax is very beginner friendly because it's so affordable and so cheap and it doesn't have a drying time. However, if you were looking for something that you can move around in or talk to, or there's not going to be a lot of creases and you want it to look realistic, maybe not the option to go for. Just because if you move, it will peel and it'll lift, and that's not really what you want. Now I've seen people seal scar wax with latex, and that sounds like a great idea. I've also seen people do it with hairspray, which is interesting, and I've never seen anyone else do that. So honestly, if I ever have to work with this again, might try it. We'll update you on Instagram if I ever do that. Once you have these down and all that, you need to like wait for this to dry. You don't need to wait for this one to dry. Now, on camera, obviously this is a very different skin color than the rest of my skin, and I would apply some foundation over the both of these. I'm not going to do that today just because I don't want to. But you would apply foundation unless your skin magically matches the scar wax that you're using to get a smoother, cleaner match. But while we are still waiting for this to dry, we're just going to continue up here. You're going to create your little cut literally by just drawing a slit in. Magical. Very easy. Again, this is the most beginner-friendly thing. And then very gently, because this is not a very forgiving thing when it comes to creases, kind of gently pry it open. Go ahead and make texture, as that's gonna make it look a little better. So now you've got a gash in your head. Perfect. This will benefit from setting powder to get rid of that shine right there. So always set this. I'm not going to, because again, I'm gonna take this off as soon as I'm off camera, and this is a basics video. So we're gonna take our palette. You can use cream paint, you can use water activated paint. I'm going to use alcohol activated paint. Take it, this grips onto color like no tomorrow, so I'm going to be very, very light with the color I'm applying. Now, irritation and wounds really does depend on like your personal preference. Sometimes there's no irritation, sometimes it depends on where the wound is, sometimes it depends on your skin tone. Like I know for me, this would be irritated almost immediately because I'm very pale. But you might not be going for realism, so whatever. And again, this is so much darker on camera than it is in real life, so if you were doing this for a video, I would always recommend popping back and forth between what's happening on your camera and what's happening in your mirror. We're gonna take a little bit of this, open it very carefully on the brush, put it into the wound, in and around the wound, and then we are going to spray my face. We can kind of manipulate the bloodstream a little bit. Don't want to too much, just so it does look a little more natural. With cuts and stuff that are on your face, sometimes I will purposely like wipe at it so that it looks like, you know, it was there for a second and it's still actively bleeding. What I'm gonna do. Now some people will call me crazy for doing that. I think it looks better. Take a dry cotton ball and just dab up all of that liquid. And there you have it. There is your scar wax cut. And this is why I don't like working with scar wax. It like will mess up as soon as you move. And I can literally just yoink mine now. See, look at all that red we were losing? Because it seeps underneath it. And that is not a reusable piece of scar wax. Because scar wax is a wax, you don't need to use isopropyl alcohol to get it off. You can just wipe it off. I'm so tempted to go get the blow dryer. I'm gonna go get the blow dryer. Now that I've taken a literal blow dryer to my face and it's dry, we can start adding some color. So usually you would want to add like foundation and stuff over this, but I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a brownish color and we're gonna do a wash. So I'm gonna color this off camera really fast and then we'll get back and we'll chat. Colored, bloodied. My camera makes everything look so much brighter, and if I can fix that in post, I will. But if not, I promise you it's not as red as it is on camera. But this is kind of what you can do similar with latex. Blending it into the skin gets easier with time. What we can do with a different product that I did not mention earlier because I'm sneaky and evil. We can take some coloring. I'm going to use my alcohol paints, but you can use whatever you want for this. This is a bottle of what we call rigid collodion. Now you are going to want to do your research and be very careful when using this, as this can actually scar your skin. But just apply a coat over the marking and let it dry. The line was a little dark, so I did re-dry it. Now when you use rigid collodion, you are going to want to buy its remover. I don't have its remover because I'm dumb, but I do have this. So, if you leave rigid collodion on for too long, it will and can scar your skin. So please only do this if you are doing like a quick 30-minute thing. Alright, that is pretty dry. I'm gonna get closer to the camera, we're gonna get real nice and comfy so you can exactly see what this is doing. Now I don't know how clear that is, and obviously you would want to set this with powder, but it has literally created an indent in my skin. And it does look more like a scar. From farther away, you will lose a little bit of that effect, but it is something that looks great in person. Now to take all this off, I'm going in with the isopropyl alcohol right where my baby hairs are, so that it stops hurting and yanking them out. Now I don't think you should pull on this when you do use the isopropyl alcohol, however, I do. Do your own research, please, and thank you. Again, I'm not a professional, just a hobbyist. And then you just take the rest off with the makeup wipe. Comes off pretty easy. That was my basic how-to video on SFX makeup. If you would like to see more, please let me know in the comments so that I know that to make more of these videos, especially if you want more in-depth, better-looking scar tutorials, and not just, here's what these can look like if you do it. Those were in 5 minutes, so they obviously weren't very great, but they got the point across. Consistent posting schedule probably still won't happen. But we're trying. We're getting there very, very slowly. So be proud of me for that. Here's the flesh piece I ripped off my skin. Have it. Yummy, yummy,